Hey guys, Lemon02. Get ready to play a replay of a match that I played with this interesting decks or this eggs deck list that I've got here. So the win con in the deck is kind of funny. So it's really Tezzeret Agent of Bullish if you have in hand, or Tezzeret Tezzeret the Seeker to fireball or attack with a bunch of 5/5s. Is kind of the way it works. The way it gets there, and the way it buys enough time to find those if it isn't lucky enough to have it in its opening hand, is to mine. Well, you can Mindslaver lock your opponent as well with the deck, because it's a Tolarian Academy deck. It can just make gross volumes of mana. Um, and you can also use Temporal Fissure because the deck can cast many spells on a turn because most of them cycle themselves and are very cheap to play. Um, and or Upheaval to stall the game and find your win con, which is really one of two cards: Tezzeret Agent of Bolus or Tezzeret the Seeker. As of right now, you could probably just put a Banefire in the deck and make enough mana to cast it. So you have cards like Candelabra of Tanos. So the reason I wanted to experiment with eggs, and this is actually a beating right here. Having to discard two cards sucks with this hand because I mean it limits the depth of our card pool. We're still probably going to get there with Tezzeret, and we end up getting there this game. So we end up casting the Tezzeret out, finding another artifact land. We had an option of a Everflowing Chalice or another Talisman, the green-white Talisman, if I'm not mistaken. We just take the land. Because we're going to use the Tolaria West to generate mana off of, or to generate, or to turn it into Tolarian Academy here. So we see a sword get played. The opponent's not really putting us under a lot of pressure. He's like a weird, like blue or black-white control deck. We find the Tolarian Academy, play out the Talisman, find the Memory Jar, play the Memory Jar out for reduced cost, and then just pass it back. The opponent realizes that I guess they can't put me under enough pressure this turn, and they know I'm going to draw into infinite cards with the Tolarian Academy, and Tolarian Academy right now makes 5 mana after 6 mana with Memory Jar after sacking Memory Jar and going into 7 new cards, probably a lot more. But one of my win conditions has been killed at this point. That doesn't mean I can't get it back. I can shuffle it back into the library with Time Twister. But it's hard to tell how this game would have turned out. I think I was highly favored if the opponent was unable to present a threat on this turn and really put the screws to us. Another way it stalls out the game is it's a Timewalk deck. It takes all the... Well, it doesn't play Timewalk proper, but it plays the Timewalks it can. So this hand was interesting. I throw it back because I can't keep it. Buried Rune on top is pretty good because we're going to need a third mana. And Mishra's Workshop, well, a very strong card, is not something that can help us cast Trinket Mage. We get rid of the Candelabra, and actually the Mishra's Workshop, which is a powerful land, but doesn't really do anything here. Make a player here. We should have played out the Buried Runes to cast the Chromatic Sphere. Get a Phyrexian Furnace, which gets sacked and removes the... my memory's bad. The Candelabra of Tanos plays out Crucible, but he doesn't have a Wasteland. He just has Recursion on a fetch land. We go ahead and fabricate here, finding our Mox. We get Title of Scholar, which is actually a big time beating because he takes our Memory Jar, but we get to go ahead and Diminishing Returns. Diminishing Returns actually kind of gives us a bad news story here because we get rid of our Temporal Fissure and our Mindslaver, which are two good ways to lock up the game or to lock the game out, and as well as Tainted Pact. But we still have a win condition. We have two win conditions in deck, which are Tezzerets, and we have a lot of time walks here, so we can take a lot of turns. We go ahead and sack the egg, scroll rack with a 7-card hand, and right now we're on a time walk turn. We can find 7 new cards, probably time walk again, and eventually find a way to win the game against very light pressure, and or find Upheaval, bounce the whole board, replay out the whole board with the extra mana that we'll have available to get back our Memory Jar and draw into more cards and win from there. That's kind of how the deck works. It's a combo deck. As you can see, it's not extremely fast though. So like turn 5 is a lot of time to kind of set up. The opponent was on a less pressuring deck as well. Lone Missionary is an interesting one to bring in. This deck actually does not run Tendrils of Agony. It may be able to. It could probably be a Storm deck as well. It could be like an alternate win con for it. Right now, like I haven't probably picked the best win con for the deck. I just wanted to generate the engine because the deck is an engine deck. That could work, with like a card like Tezzeret, or the 2 Tezzerets. Just because, I wanted to see if the engine could work in 100 card with only singleton copies of each thing. And it does work pretty decently. I don't think it is, a top deck, but I think it's a viable strategy. I think it can work, and it won this game here. Our opponent went ahead and scooped him up when he saw the scroll rack and 7 cards in hand. He figured he was probably losing, and he probably is. I don't really have a great hand here. I can mana drain the next thing, but like, I need to find something. I need to find gas. With a scroll rack and a Tolarian Academy that's untapped with the availability of 1, 2, 3, 7 mana off of it, at least on this board right now, it's a pretty sure thing that we're going to find a way to win here, or at least stall out the opponent long enough that we can find our win time. So that was the series of games. This is 100 card singleton eggs, so it is 100 single cards. They they There's only one of them in the deck, for all those 100 cards, and essentially it's an engine style deck. So I think it's kind of cool to see that decks like this can work. Tolarian Academy of note, I think, is a lot more powerful. I think I probably underestimated its power a little bit, without the Moxen, because you have stuff like the artifact lands, and there actually are a significant number of 0 mana artifacts or very cheap artifacts that can really fuel it very fast. I still think I think even without the Moxen and the Black Lotus in the format, Tolarian Academy is still actually probably in the right style of deck faster than Gaia's Cradle is, just because of the fact that artifacts, quote unquote, have haste because you can still make mana off of them the turn they come into play. Even if you're going down a mana on a card like Talisman of Dominance, you're making that mana back on Tolarian Academy, and it still makes that mana that turn. So it's a dead even mana drop, but allows you to dump your hand and get into a new draw 7, which is really what this deck is about. It's about drawing 7 and then using the power of Academy to find your win con, which is going to be one of those Tezzerets and time walking into a win with it, and or just bouncing everything your opponent has and stalling them out so that you can just eventually win with your Tezzeret. So that was the set of games. This is 100 Card Singleton Eggs, and I hope you guys enjoyed this very short series on this pretty cool, interesting archetype that I want to put out there because it's not something that I think a lot of players have seen. And I kind of got told by a couple of the players like, "Hey, none of us really play combo, so unless you run combo or someone else runs combo in the 100 card singleton format, we're not really going to probably play it or know what it's about." And that's what this deck's about. It's a combo deck, like at heart. Like that's pretty much what it does. It has some control elements to it, with temporal fissure and upheaval, but really they're just being used to further enable the engine of the deck to get online and win. So I think it is pretty cool to have decks like this in the format. What I Do I think this is a great deck? No, I don't. I wouldn't care to play this in an open or wide meta because I don't think it's a glass cannon at the end of the day. If your opponent doesn't put the screws to you and win fast, then you can have enough time to win with it. But I don't think it is among the best decks. I think it's a fine deck, and I think it's pretty cool that it's available now. So if you're a combo player at heart, I don't think many of you are that watch my videos, but if you are, try this deck out, pick it up, give it a shot, and see what it can do because it's actually pretty sweet. And I'll post the list at some point in time because I didn't go through a thorough deck tech here, but it's pretty sweet. All right, guys, take care now and have a great night.